Okay, hello everyone. Let me take a look how it's going on. So the stream has started, and today we're gonna continue working on this functionality of setting up a build process for our new extension for customer section load. Basically, what I was doing last time. Let me actually switch views now into the code view. So here we have something going on with configure Magento part and the build Magento part. So the build part is actually installs Magento from Composer, and that one actually I didn't yet test, so we need to see if it actually works. So what it does, it copies all the files. Okay, seems like gonna work. Okay, let me try to build it. I already forgot what was the build command. Okay, so probably something like that. Oh damn it, it won't get built because I forgot small thing. I forgot to export my composer out for actually running the build process. So now it's gonna download Magento and run all the necessary steps to perform a build. So what actually happens inside of this build Magento? It's basically just installs the Magento itself, so nothing else, and just installs it into Magento directories, and it invokes this sample data deploy that should update the composer file in just in case if it requires updating the composer dependencies. We also run composer update. Also, from the last time, I also changed a little bit the script itself. So now I supply a version as an argument, and then this argument gets supplied into create project operations. So now we directly specify which Magento version we want to prepare for us as a Docker container. In general, it takes some time to get it executed. So it's probably now pulls down, yeah, everything that it needs to install. So a lot of code gets downloaded. Let me put the chat on top, so in case if you write something, I can see your messages. Okay. Now it seems like I can see if you write something in chat. So for now it downloads all the required components. So just in a little bit of time it should be done. And what I was supposed to do actually, here there is a little bit of problematic statement in your Docker file, because let's say here I run a copy of all the star.sh files into this directory, but the problem with that command is that when I run it, it's gonna perform it in a little bit bad way, because as soon as I modify any of sh script here, my other statements are going to be re-executed, so Docker will not use caching of the previous build steps if there already is something prepared. So what needs to be done here is actually, I just need to copy this one only, and then I need to copy the rest of the files. So basically I just make sure that this section of building the Magento itself is only going to be re-executed when I need to actually change the build Magento script, but not on every single run of Docker build. So okay, now it actually installs sample data as far as I remember. So this one should just work pretty well with that one. Yeah, let me see why I don't see any more chat. Yeah, this is weird why it closed it. So okay, just to remind you why we're actually building something like that from scratch, because we want to have environment that we will be able to run tests quite quickly. And when you do TDD, the build phase of your project setup is usually the longest time you spend on it. So as soon as you have some generic build file, you can of course reuse it across the projects, but I decided it makes sense to try out Docker as the way to run your automated tests with Selenium against Magento. So I was doing it in such a way by building this image. So now you will see actually the whole process, how it goes on from the start to the end. So it takes some time to get everything in. Let me check if I can actually have some kind of possibility to create maybe some kind of local cache for Composer itself. Let me quickly Google it up while it's doing the thing. So cache Composer or cache directory for Docker builds. Okay, so not much as an option. Cache, yeah, let's see. What can I try to do? It's mount the volume maybe. Okay, let's see. Did it finish already? Okay, so the build is actually completed. Now this one I think is gonna be possible to run. Let me try it. Docker run 2.3 points. What was this? Our build 2.3.3, right? Oh, Docker run, not build. So Docker run, and here we run our command. Okay, it starts up everything, and then it should run this configure command that actually should set up our Magento instance. So I was picking around into this Docker image itself, so I can now execute. I think I can take a look what kind of Docker images are running. So here's the one that is interesting for us. So it's Docker assigned its unique name of Romantic Chatter G, and I can just exec bash. Yeah, first I need to specify the container and then the command itself, and also I need to specify that it is interactive one. So okay, here we have this special configuration files I found last time. It's called my init, and here the Docker container. Yeah, why it doesn't show me? Okay, so here it is, my init d, and here they have this 60 restart services. So this file actually contains all the logic of starting various processes. For instance, for me, it's important to start only MySQL and only Redis. The rest of the things are not important to start because yeah, I need to make sure that everything is working well during the installation, but I don't care about FPM, so I want to make sure it's working. So let's see, can I actually start it? Like that. So let me just try and check if I can actually manually kill it. So can I kill manually MySQL kill all MySQL d, right? And if I just start this MySQL d, is it gonna be in foreground or not? Okay, so this is actually starts in foreground, but I'm more interested in starting MySQL as a background, so probably I have to use the same thing that's used here with Hypernote MySQL service as a screen. So what I need to do, so first it actually builds Magento itself, so then I need to run screen with the name like that. Oh, actually, yeah, the problem is basically that during the build process, unfortunately, as soon as I complete this run operation, it actually does me a bad favor by removing the previous container and starting a new one. So each run operation results in a new container during the build. So I can't rely on the services started in the previous step. So I have to manually, let's say, run this configure Magento .sh as a script. Or let's say, probably I better call it install Magento as a script. And then after I run this one, I can just yeah, so first of all, let's create this new file. Let's call it install Magento sh. And here I need probably to specify bash install Magento. So we are still in the root directory. Now, when I have this install Magento being run, now I can create here the actual script itself. And here I need to start up my SQL server itself. So first of all, probably I have to execute some stuff as some user. So I think I will take out this part from this file away. Right, and so this one will be our configure step. So sounds reasonable. However, here or maybe we also need to run composer update here. Yeah, so this is going to be our configure step for our standard Magento setup. As soon as we start our Docker container, it's going to run composer update. It's going to enable all the modules. It's going to then run setup.di compile, and in the end probably also can execute no dev, because we don't need dev dependencies when we build Magento, because all the tests are gonna run in our main package. So all our dev dependencies are gonna stay here, and we don't need Magento dev dependencies. Also, let's specify prefer dist. Is it dst or dist? Let's see. Composer update help. Oh no. In order to perform update, it still needs to download stuff. Okay, so I think it should be prefer. Oh, it should be prefer stable, right? Or okay, so here it is. Prefer dist, and as well, we're gonna do the same thing probably for install as well, because for install we don't need anything else too. So it just should be when we build Magento itself, we also should specify no dev and prefer dist. So let's take a look. Composer, create project, help. I think there's also the same flags, because composer is pretty pretty consistent in the names of the arguments. So it should be no dev. Yeah, so no dev, prefer dist. Okay, so our build at least should work a little bit faster, and update the same thing. So we don't need any dev dependencies, we only need the main dependencies of the project. That's one thing. And when we're gonna install Magento, I think we're gonna only run install command. It's one thing, but I think I just messed up and removed stuff that I didn't copy into my stuff that I actually didn't copy into my buffer, so I need to copy it over now because I forgot to pass the stuff here. And here I will actually wrap this install Magento action into a function. And what's gonna be interesting about that one is that this function we're gonna run as a separate user. What I'm doing, I can just do it like that, and here I can just remove these indentations. Okay, so this is something that it will use to obtain a MySQL password, right? So this is going to be our function, and now we're gonna let's say start MySQL, right? So for that one, I think we can consult this nice file that they already have here. So we can start MySQL like that, and we can also start Redis as well. Let's see. Right. So starting MySQL. And now we can do some check. I don't remember how do I try to test if MySQL connection is active. Let's quickly see. So what we can try to do, we can try to check the exit status probably. Okay, so right now it's working, but I, for instance, want just probably just put some sleep for a couple of seconds in order to be able to wait for it to complete. So let's just put a sleep for 2 seconds. Then after these 2 services started, we can actually run as an app user. We can run install Magento command, right? And here we can first of all switch to data web Magento to this directory. Hope this one gonna work. Let's see if my build still gonna run. Oh, wait a second. Here I also need to, basically I don't need to do anything, because as soon as my run step finishes, as these screen sessions are going to be terminated. So let's execute docker. Yeah, where did I had it before? So I think here, yeah. So now it's the final build operations that's gonna happen. And let's hope that after this build operation, everything is gonna work. Let's see if our preferred dist is gonna actually help us. Pity that Magento Project Community Edition project itself doesn't supply by default a composer log file. It would be very nice, because right now every single time you do an install, it should generate a new log file. So the build times are usually longer than you'd expect them to be. So let's see how it's going on. Takes some time. It takes some time to install stuff. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it takes some time. Okay, the first one is almost completed. So let's hope it's gonna run from now on a bit faster. Also, would be great to have a standard Magento build where you can already have sample data specified in as an option in your composer.json file, because right now, yeah, you have to manually do it all the time. Okay, so let's hope it's gonna be a final time when we have to actually run this command. because ideally after this step my build Magento step is gonna be cached and I can test out better my installation sequence itself. The life of a developer is quite boring when you have to wait for your build to complete. This is the most boring part of the development job, I think. You always like more feedback and you want to see faster build times. And unfortunately, building Magento over and over is not that fast of a process. I wish it was. Let's actually see, maybe Byte already provides for us some Magento 2 installs Byte. Yes, I remember they were providing before some kind of default installs. Okay, so they actually have a Magento mirror in which they release some of the most recent Magento versions. So maybe we can kind of reuse it. Let me quickly check if it has anything valuable over there. Magento 2.3.3. Oh yeah, but starting from 2.3 they don't provide any sample data. I see. So they have sample data for 2.2, but they don't have sample data for the most recent Magento version, unfortunately. I wish they had a pre-install available. Would be so much nicer and quicker than building it from scratch. Probably we have to build some kind of pre-built artifacts for ourselves for build to improve the stuff. Okay, let's see. Does it do the job well or not? Okay, so now it removed all the redundant packages. It generates new afterload files. Let's see. Hope it's finally gonna finish its job. Okay, so install Magento command has failed, probably because yeah, it didn't run. Yeah, because I probably should not use here something like that. Yeah, probably I have to execute it a little bit differently. Let's see. Execute custom bash function in sudo. Okay, I see. I see. So I have to actually declare it. Okay, funny. So this is kind of an interesting thing. So for instance, I have a bash function, and let's say if I want to use it in sudo, I have to actually do something like that. So install function, and it should be install Magento, and then I have to run it with the bash. Okay, bash -c. And what did I need to specify there? I needed to specify, okay, a definition like that, and then I can actually do it. Okay, so here it should be something like this, and then actually the next step is gonna be my install Magento function. So it's kind of an interesting hack around bash scripts. So let's see. Okay, what it tells me that database Magento 2 doesn't exist. Okay, the MySQL server didn't start probably, so that's interesting. Let's sleep for a bit more seconds. Let's sleep for 5 seconds and see if it actually helps. Interesting. Very interesting. So it tells me that the MySQL didn't actually start during the build process. This is a little bit disappointing. So what can I try and do? Then so can I just do something like that? Can it start now? Starting as process 6, okay. Okay, this is interesting. Oh, yes, I think I know what's the problem. Probably the problem is that it somehow is not getting bound. Interesting, can we somehow start a container? Right, so I can have this container, and I can execute docker run it, and here I'm gonna execute entry point bash. Let's see. Oh yeah, so docker yes, I'll grab this container name. Okay. So this is the image itself. Or maybe I can just do docker start can I specify some? Oh. And can I just specify container ID? So I have to actually use a different one. I have to use the actual image itself, and then I have to run so it's gonna be it. We're just gonna run this image. Let's hope it's gonna work. And here before image I have to specify an entry point, and I'm gonna start with simple bash entry point. Okay, it works. So now I'm gonna go on and try to execute this command, and now I'm gonna try to execute MySQL. Okay, so this one actually worked pretty well. Show databases. Okay, and what was the problem here, for instance? Oh, I know what was the problem. Yeah, now it's clear. The problem was that etc hosts file doesn't contain the proper host name, so I have to specify localhost here as a host name as an argument to the MySQL command. So everything else was working fine. The only thing that this MySQL command, it takes data from this file here in data web. It has this my.cnf, and here the host name specified is MySQL master diameter hypernode, but hypernode adds host names only in entry point, not during the build time. So that's why there is a little bit of a problem with the build. So let's see if now it's gonna run. So looks like it. Yeah, Magento is running and installation is running now. So now the database gets installed. So now everything should be running smoothly, and we should see finally a built Magento setup. So it installs all the sample data into the database and other stuff. So let's see if after all those steps our Magento will be accessible through a browser. Let me for that purpose actually start a new browser window and make it also available for all of you to see. So I have plenty of browser windows. Okay, quite a lot of them. And I'm gonna start a new private one. Okay, let's add a new scene to OBS. Browser. Okay, and inside of this scene, just wait a moment, we're gonna add some of the devices. So here I'm just gonna copy this one and I'm gonna paste it into the new scene, and here I'm gonna add as well a window capture for a browser. Okay, seems good. The only thing that my face is a little bit under the browser, so now let's make it bigger window, and now I think it should be fine. Okay, good. So now we have a browsing. So okay, the switching works well, and let's check the status of our installation. So status of our installation is still in progress, so for now we have to wait a little bit till it completes. Let's take a look what happens in our entry point. So we are configuring Magento inside of this entry point, and our configure Magento step is looking like that, right? So we also probably need to enable. Okay, so our build is complete. The only thing that I think is require. Okay, let's just try to run our build first of all. Now let's do it, let's run it, and then we're gonna fix the rest of the things if there's anything happens. So minus it, and then we're gonna run our build version 2.3.3, and here we're gonna just start it. Okay, and now let's see if opening localhost works. Okay, it takes some time. Oh damn, it won't work. I forgot to specify a very important operation. I forgot to specify the port mapping. So here it is, 80 to 80. Okay, now it should be probably working. Let's see. Okay, now at least it goes somewhere. Yeah, and here is the final result. So Magento is installed with sample data through our Docker file. So we have a Docker file that runs Magento on our local with plenty of stuff. So basically, actually, we can already proceed with development from this stage. So let's quickly check if everything else works. Right, looks good. I like that everything is working, so not much stuff changed over there. So first of all, I'm gonna do some changes, probably not here, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, we can just install it a couple of times, maybe. Or maybe I just can copy here after I have built Magento. I just can copy install Magento over here, and then I'm gonna copy other shell scripts. So our install process is gonna be cached as well. So okay, the image is working. Now let's take a look at our build entry point. So here we have our configure Magento script, but I didn't see anything running over there. I didn't see this being actually executed. First of all, we don't need to run restart services. We just can rely on my init here. And yeah, so let's go and try to test our visit of the page. So first of all, I think we need to somehow test out how we're gonna validate which URLs has been visited. So let's try and connect to the Docker image itself. So first of all, I think we need to create an automated start of our Docker image. So here we're gonna run teardown. Here we're gonna run begin testing, and this is gonna be a public static function. It's static because it's gonna be executed only once for the whole test suite. And here's gonna be another function called end testing, and this end testing function is gonna contain killing of all the child processes we actually started. So what I was using in previous oh, I didn't switch a context. So here what I need to do, I need just to show you what I was doing for another small project. So I was doing some automated testing with starting a background processor, and I think it was in Cache Warmer. In develop branch there is some code already available for starting a new PHP background job. So here it is. It just starts a new child process, and then you can kill it or do other stuff with it. But because we are gonna run an actual sub process, I think we even don't need to fork here. I think we can just set up some pipe open for the process. So let me see. So pipe open PHP. I forgot already the documentation for it. So it's p open to a process by forking the command given by command. Okay, so this is our executable. Okay, good. So we know that we can start it, but can we actually kill it? Okay. Can we actually close the file pointer to the pipe open by popen? However, can I actually kill the process itself? Let's take a look. So popen, it just opens the process. I probably have to use proc open. All right. Okay, let's switch back to the code and let's try it out. So it's gonna be docker run, and we're gonna specify our build 2.3.3. We later on will parameterize this stuff for environment variables, but for now we just want to start as soon as possible, and we'll call itself pipe. Right, and this is gonna run in interactive mode, and it's gonna also remove the file, the build itself, as soon as the build is complete. So -rm is gonna indicate it that it's gonna complete after it's done. Now, after we are done with testing, we just run proc close of self pipe, and it should be more than enough for us. Right, so this one here, we also need to do some sleep for, let's say, 3 seconds, or maybe, yeah, 3 seconds, I think more than enough, or actually 6 seconds, just in case. And here's a proc close of the pipe. Yeah, let's also define the pipe itself. Not through annotation. I actually want to add an actual property. Okay, so it should be resource. Okay, good. This one we actually started, and here we also need to specify an annotation that this one, for instance, happens before suit, and this one happens after suit. And here we're gonna specify some ports. So let's say ports is gonna be 80 to 80. Okay, so let's test it out. Let's see if our functionality actually runs. Okay, what it's missing? Okay, the PHP version. I think I will use the standard version here. Apply, run. Why doesn't? Oh yeah, because I didn't configure it last time. So test runner. Okay, so what it tells me, expects at least 3 parameters, only one given. Okay, so I probably can just use popen. No need to use proc. Pre-close. Okay, let's see. Okay, it should be also my in read mode only. Okay, so the home page was actually visited, so it's a good sign. It means that yeah, it started and it worked. So it actually visited a home page, and this assert state response status is 200. So let's just assert that when we visit the home page, we actually receive 200 status. Okay, now actually it's a failure because status code is not available from Selenium to driver. Okay, nice. This is cool. Why? Okay, get status code. And why in Selenium the status code is not available? This is interesting. Get response, get status. Okay, so it just doesn't implement it. Okay. How can we actually test it? Let's assert some element. Let's assert element on a page, and here we're gonna specify that there's, let's say, an element available over there. So let's switch back to our browser, and in the browser window we're actually gonna take a look at our home page. Oh yeah, I've stopped the Docker container. Let's also specify the same -rm, and here let's reload the page. Let's see, takes some time. Okay, so what I'm looking for, let's say I'll check that this element, for instance, is present. So let's copy a Css selector for this element. Oh, yeah, it's not the best selector in my opinion. It should be content info, right? So it should be inside of content, that there is an element with an info, and let's see if it actually works in testing scenario. Let's check. Okay, there's a failure. At least can we check for content itself? This is funny. Why it doesn't work? Do I have actually Selenium running in the background? Sorry, ps grab Selenium, because it should be. Oh, there is no Selenium running. Of course it won't work. Okay. Selenium server standalone help. Okay. It should be Java. Okay. I already saved a couple of scripts to run Selenium. I think I was sending it in the last stream, but I already completely forgot where it is, so let me switch back to that window. Let's go back to Selenium. Okay. Do I have Selenium here? So this is cat install. It's probably Selenium, yeah. No, it's already there, so it should be running. So let's try it out. That probably should be run as a complete file path. Okay. Let me check. Install. Oh, here it is. Here's the last scripts I was running. Oh yeah, it's xvfb run java WebDriver from. Yeah, let's do that. What it tells me. Oh, one. What the heck? Let's try without debug then. Okay, Selenium server is running. Let's reduce it to 5, let's say, or 6 should be enough probably as well. Yeah, let's run. So what it tells us? It tells us that something is not working as expected. So let's do this vendor bin behat with debug option. Oh yeah. Okay, bad gateway. So it means it still didn't start at the required page. So the page that was returned is different than the one that we expect, right? So let's do, let's say 20 seconds just to make it sure that it actually runs. Oh, cannot start it. Okay, because probably I have it somewhere running, right? Very strange. Very strange. Port is already allocated. Why? Is there any Docker images are running? Probably yes. And it's still running. So we have to run docker stop. So our pclose didn't actually finish the process. So let's try it now. So this time it actually does visit a home page, because it takes quite a lot of time to load the page. Yeah, and now our tests pass. So I can successfully conclude that our build actually works. So that's great to end the stream for today on this note, because it means that, yeah, everything works as expected. Interesting to see why it still actually hangs, because I think it shouldn't. Right to dev std out this broken pipe here. This is interesting. But I will work on that one later to see why. Yeah, starting the Docker. Maybe we just have to move it outside of the testing. Maybe we can even move it into composer test scripts, and then it will be a little bit more convenient to work on it. Okay, thank you very much, and till the next time, enjoy the rest of your Mondays.